Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Property Angels' first live stream. So Property Angels was founded by Sarah Smith, Samantha Beddoe, and myself, Karen Stambridge, and we're three ladies who come from pretty solid backgrounds. Sam, a former detective, Sarah, a former solicitor, and myself, a former accountant, who escaped those worlds and started working in property full time. So we're now going to do a brief introduction. So Sam, if you'd like to go first and talk about your background, a bit more detail.
Sure. Hi there, Sam Beddoe. I've got a couple of property companies and a non-property company. My two property companies, one I have a serviced accommodation business. I have a property development business that's called Revive Holdings, and a non-property business, which is where I show people how to reduce their essential utilities by 25-35%. So that's me.
Sarah?
My name's Sarah Smith. I bought my first property in 2004 and just built up my properties very slowly in an accidental landlord kind of way. And then around 2012, I realised, perhaps this is something I should pursue. And by 2016, I was making enough from property to give up my day job as a solicitor. So that's what I did. So I've got a portfolio of single lets and HMOs, and also lucky enough to host a PIP meeting with these two lovely ladies.
Okay, and I'm Karen Stambridge. So I was originally an accountant. I then went on to work as a project and program manager and strategic business consultant in big blue chip industry. But I got a bit sick and tired of all the politics there, and I finally escaped that world and began building a property business, creating sustainable wealth both for now and the future. And you'll see we've got a fourth lady with us today, Kiera Lea, and Sarah will be introducing Kiera and telling you about Kiera's journey. So Sarah, let me hand back to you to start that introduction with Kiera.
Sure. So Kiera, do you want to just give us a bit about your background, maybe your career, how you got started in property?
Yeah, so I started as an estate agent. So I left college. Mum and Dad was very much, you can't leave college without getting yourself a full-time job. And I accidentally fell into the estate agency world at 17. I've always admired, obviously, the investors coming into the office. And again, I was very much fell into the lettings world as an accident. We had a lettings manager come into the office talking to us about yields. We just listed a property through a friend that they were talking about the returns that it got. And I remember saying to my other half, well, that's returning more than we get on our investments. So yeah, took the step in 2015.
And so is that when you bought your first property?
Yep, 2015. It was a little 2-bedroom flat. We managed to get it for a good price, what I now know is classed as below market value. And yeah, managed to pull money back out of it a couple of years later.
And you continued working at that point in the estate agency. At what point was it that you kind of thought, okay, well, I'd like to take this full time? I know you're a mum now, so I'm sure you're juggling quite a lot. But
yeah, so again, stepped into the full-time property world. Again, I was kind of pushed into it, but now thinking back, I'm really grateful of that push. So I was due to go back to work after maternity leave. I had everything lined up. So I was going back to my original office. I managed to agree reduced hours. And then literally a few weeks before I was due back, they told me, actually, you can't go back to that office. We're not so sure about the hours and your role that you were doing, so the position that you were in, we're not going to allow you because of the cost. So if you want to come back, it's going to be a 2-step demotion. So as you can imagine, I was really like, wow, okay. And I remember my other half, James, coming back and saying about rent to rent. And I was thinking, who would rent their property and then let someone else rent it out for a profit? So I spent weeks and weeks and weeks researching it all, and I was thinking, okay, kind of this makes sense. Listening to loads of videos, viewed loads of properties, and I picked up my first rent to rent on the same day that I'd managed to secure a part-time job. Obviously, I didn't have enough income at that point to keep me out of work, so I needed to get a job. And I met a guy called Neil. I think some of you know him, at a networking event. From Next to Properties. He knew what my idea was with regards to setting up a rent-to-rent business, and he was happy for me to work in his office selling properties alongside building up my rent-to-rent business, and it kind of started from there, really.
Oh wow, so you still kept in the estate agency game
Yeah,
at the same time as, oh, that's perfect, isn't it?
yeah.
So, and by then you were still buying properties at that point,
Yeah,
as
so
well as
that
having.
point, so this was 2017, and I haven't, so I went back to work, I was due back to work in 2018, and by that point we'd had like a steady flow of continuing to buy sort of single lets. We just purchased our first refurb property, so we were in the process of refurbishing that as well, but again it wasn't enough income for me to stay out of work and continue sort of living the lifestyle that we like living.
Okay, and of those properties to date, what would you consider to be your biggest success?
I would say, so to date, actually, I think it would be the one that we've literally just done, which was the one that we bought at auction. So we managed to get it for a really, really good price. I think, if I'm honest, it was a little gem. It was a property that had a really short lease on it, but from reading the legal pack, it was a share of freehold. So again, from speaking to the solicitor and the property management company, we knew that it would be quite easy and relatively cheap to extend the lease. So with typically with leasehold properties, they can be quite expensive extending the lease, but we're given a rough ballpark figure and we knew that it would work out for the price that we might be able to buy the property for. So we managed to secure it for a really good price. We got it for actually guide price at auction, refurbished it, and at the time we had two options. We had our A and our B, and at first we were intending just to flip it, so to sell it. Then obviously coronavirus hit and we knew obviously the market was going to take a little bit of a hit, so we went to plan B, and yeah, we rented it out and it rented really quickly and it still stacks really, really well.
Is that the one in Southsea?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Would you just run us through the numbers very quickly on that one, if you don't mind?
Okay, off the top of my head, I'm very much a spreadsheets girl, so everything's just put into a spreadsheet. So we bought it for 121, and we spent just under 121,000. Yeah, we spent just under 14,000 on the refurbishment. I think in total the initial investment we've had to put into it is about 60,000. From we're trying to go through the remortgage stage at the moment, so we'll leave about 30% in there, but the return will be around 40%, and obviously the rental that we bring back in, the capital invested into the property.
Yeah, sounds like a brilliant little purchase.
Yeah, really happy with it.
And on the flip side, is there any projects which went really wrong, or any projects which you learned a big lesson from that you want to share?
Where we initially started investing in just single lets that were already kind of good to go, we've been really lucky. We've not sold any of them yet, so we've not had a situation where we haven't been able to get the sales figure that we were expecting for. We got hit with the Catherington Lane property that we bought, and we were hoping would revalue at a certain price, and it down valuation, but again it still stacks, but it was annoying just getting that down valuation. From my agency background, I'd sold the property to that side and the property to that side, so I knew exactly what they sold for, and the surveyor still got downvalued it, even though I was like, I know what they've sold for, but because they weren't within the last few months, they wouldn't take it. But again, a lesson learned from that one with regards to the refurbishment, because it was our first one, we just got a builder in and he kind of did everything, and then looking back at the cost, we know we could have saved money by bringing in different trades to do different things. So with Kent Road, we did each sort of job, so electrician, builder, plumber, all separately, and that's where we're able to keep the renovation costs down, so we project manage it ourselves.
And do you do any of the work yourself now, or do you just project manage?
Very much just project manage. My other half, James, again with Catherington Lane, was very much there on site a lot, and he did all the decorating himself, whereas this time it was everybody else just cracked on and did it.
So would you say your strategy's changed at all since you started? I know you said you started doing the rent to rent, but you've been buying the single lets alongside it. Is that still your current strategy, or has it changed or evolved at all over the time you've been in property?
Yeah, so again with the rent to rent, again, it's one of those things, if I knew then what I know now, would I agree to have just done the single rent to rent, or would I have gone in and done a lease option with them as well, like made an offer to buy at the time? And I think I probably would. I'm at a stage now where I'm just agreeing essentially what came about as a rent to rent, but I put the option to buy, and we're actually going down the purchase lease option route now with that. And again, with the single lets, we're going from just buying like normal single lets, but we're now looking at buying things where we can add value so that we can then refinance and pull the money out. It's just hopefully cycling that money a bit quicker this time.
Yeah. So tell us what a typical day looks like to you. So on a day like today, when you're child free and you can crack on, what does your day look like?
So first thing is going through all the emails. So I'm a nightmare, and I need to improve my time management better. My other half is always having to go, it's like, why are you checking your emails now? You're working tomorrow, why don't you just do it tomorrow? But I'm very much like, I want to be doing it there and then, getting it dealt with and getting it out. But so today I would drop off at nursery, come back, make my list of things to do, and then go through it. So I check Rightmove daily. I'm at this stage now where I've just taken on a property manager, and she is fabulous. So she's taken away in the last sort of month or so a lot of the little tasks that I would have had to have done. So going down to the HMO properties, checking them out, either doing inspections or viewing, she's kind of doing that. So I'm at a stage now where I'm sort of systemizing my business, trying to streamline it even further.
That sounds great. Has Corona changed anything in your business, would you say, or made you think, we need more of this, less of this, or made you change your strategy going forwards?
The video viewings have been a big time saver. So I think with regards to any property that I put on fresh, I will always take a video now, because people are going to have a look around that, and it will just save a lot of time with regards to wasted viewings.
Yeah. And also when it looks fresh and beautiful, that's the best time to take a video, isn't it?
Definitely. And with the pardon?
Video viewings are great anyway, because even if it's not as an alternative to viewing, but it's just almost a pre-qualifier, isn't it? They've looked around virtually, so it'll knock out some of the time wasters, hopefully.
Definitely.
And do you do your own viewings, or I guess that's now your property manager doing the viewings?
Yeah. So it used to be me, and now she does them. Yeah.
So what's your aims and your goals going forward? So a year, 3 years, 5 years from now, what do you want to have achieved?
I'd like to be a lot more hands off again with the business, especially with the HMO stuff. I think it will get to the stage, and that's my plan at the moment, is to grow that stage, and even look at bringing in more people to kind of look after that. We've got a financial goal that we would like to get to. Again, my partner is still very much full time with his work. He doesn't want to do that forever, so again, we'd like to get to our financial goal, where he can take a step back, and then both of us will be essentially full-time in property. But we actually like sourcing the property, so we'll be able to go out, do our viewing, stuff like that, and just have the hands-off approach.
That's brilliant. So what would you say, your time so far in property, what would you say is your key to success, or what was it that went off in your head that really changed the way you went forward?
Realizing how much time it gave you. So obviously I was due to go back to the corporate world, and I was dreading it. I knew I was going to have to be in the office these set 3 days a week, and the times that I was going to have to be there was set times. I was going to have to work weekends, and obviously with a young daughter, I was thinking this isn't ideal at all. So the time freedom that it's given me is what
is what did it.
Yeah.
And is there a single piece of advice that you've been given by anyone or read somewhere that's been key to what you've achieved so far?
Very much property is a people's game. So a lot of the either the deals that we've done have come through sort of word of mouth, and the nuggets of information that I have found have come through talking to different people. Like, I was so nervous about going to my first networking event, but the people that I've met through networking have proved to be really invaluable and have really helped me on my journey. When you go to networking, there's always someone that's that further ahead of you that is happy to help you, and talk you through a process or give you a contact. And I would also say listen to sort of podcasts, go on the property forums, ask questions, and that will really help you on your way.
I agree. That's definitely what propelled me from a kind of lonely investor into doing everything a lot faster and then going full time, definitely. So other than networking, are there any other tools or resources that you would recommend to people starting out that have really helped you?
So again, this will be a personal thing, but I was really nervous. So when I was an estate agent, I predominantly dealt with the sales side of things. So I wasn't that au fait with the lettings process. And I remember thinking, crikey, there is a lot of legislation around letting your own properties. So with our single lets, we used to let them through an agent, and it was kind of very much hands off. And then obviously when I was starting to take that step full time into property, we decided I would take over the management. I remember thinking, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I learned a lot again at Nexa, because obviously they had a lettings arm. But I got hold of a book, it's just called How to Be a Landlord. And I think it's written by Rob Dick. But it is super easy to read, and it outlines everything in a really easy way to understand it, as to all the different things you would have to put in place should you want to start managing your own property. That really helped me some of the stress away.
I love Rob Dick's books. I don't know if he does it under the Property Geek brand or if he just does it under himself anymore, but his books are brilliant, really simple, really easy, and I think they're perfect for people starting out, aren't they?
Very much. And they're podcasts, so they're probably the most podcasts that I listen to, because again, there's no rubbish with it. They just give you good, honest advice. There's no trying to sell you something, which is really good.
The Property Hub podcast, isn't it? And I think that's brilliant. That was definitely a catalyst for me as well back in the day. I mean, I don't know how many episodes they've done now, maybe 500, maybe more. But for people starting out, they're an amazing resource. I agree with you.
Very much so.
So in terms of a team, so we all know it's important to have a good team around you. Have you been able to slowly build up your team, or has it been a case of trial and error?
So I think from starting, we've been quite lucky. We used to co-own a gym, and we've managed to meet quite a few tradespeople through that. We don't have the gym anymore, but we met quite a few people. So in terms of people like a plumber, we've got a really good plumber that we know. Electrician, again, we met the electrician through the gym. Our solicitor is an absolute gem. I met her through sort of my estate agency background. She always did. Always really good at her conveyancing, would always answer the calls. So again, I use her now for our conveyancing process. So in terms of a power team, it is really important to get that good load of people that you can just phone up and they're going to be there, they're going to do a good job. And we've just recently set up a thing which again is saving us time, where with our tradespeople, they know if a job is up to a certain amount of money, they don't even have to call us to say, oh, is it okay to do this? They just kind of crack on and do it. And then obviously if it's above a certain amount, then they would have to call us. But generally we trust them enough just to get on and do what they need to do.
That's it. It's all about trust, isn't it? And knowing you can lean on them, which is super important. Going back to books, we mentioned briefly one of the Rob Dick's books. Is there any other books that you would recommend to people starting out that really help you?
Awful with regards to reading, and again, so I don't read much, and the audio books, I'm really bad at that, but I would definitely recommend sort of the podcast. And like I say, so I like just that short snippets of information that sort of stick in your head. Unfortunately I'm not the best advocate. My other half, he reads loads, but I just don't find myself getting into books. But
it's just whatever works for you, isn't it? Definitely. So you listen to the Property Hub podcast. Any other podcasts that you think have really helped you?
So I found when I was first starting out, so I would hear all these different what they term as strategies, and I'd be like, oh, what's that about? So I would literally go into Stitcher and type search and then find like a podcast on that specific topic. Just learning through searching, really.
And put another way, if you were meeting someone new who wanted to get into property, and they had some basic knowledge, how would you advise them to get started? or?
I would definitely recommend them getting out there, because that's what kind of propelled me. Obviously, the single lets side, but if I'm honest, when we first started doing single lets, we didn't really have a clue what we were doing, and if we knew now what we did then, we probably would have made some different decisions. So I would have started going out to networking events, finding out what options are out there, because you will hear so many different people doing so many different things, and obviously people's situations are completely unique. Learn about raising different types of finance, and again, in the beginning it was very much a case of we would save for a property, then remortgage, whereas from the knowledge that we've learned, we now know of other different ways that we can, get money. We started off then asking family, did family have money that was just sitting in the bank and not making any money? They did. So again, we started using that, and then the more confident we've got, and obviously the more success stories we had, then we felt confident going out to people outside of our family networks, then friends, and then other business people. So it's grown like that at the time. In terms of, I didn't know it was termed doing joint ventures, but we did a couple of accidental joint ventures. But I would say getting out to different property communities will definitely propel you.
100%, I definitely agree. Sam or Karen, do you have any questions you want to ask Kiera?
I guess I'm curious about what Kiera does with all this time she's now got back. So she released a load of time. That's great. And I've done the same. I've got a couple of property managers as well. And I know I'm using mine to do other things in property and or business. So Kiera, what are you doing with this time you've got back?
At the moment, I'm working backwards. So I'm like, right, okay, I need to still get everything systemized. So whilst my property manager, she's going off and doing sort of the day-to-day things, I'm doing all the back office stuff at the moment. So getting all the systems in place, doing my processes manual. It sounds like the boring stuff, but once it's all done, it will kind of look after itself, and it will be well worth my time invested. Again, getting all my accounts set up, as well as sourcing other properties. So we're still very much looking for the next project. We've got one going through with solicitors at the moment, but out and about viewing other properties. I've got 2 viewings this afternoon, and then the rest of the time it's obviously spending time with my little girl, my other half, and having a nice time, really.
It's great because it gives you the freedom and choice to do those things, and by setting these foundations there, you are then freed up to either dip in or dip out as you choose to within your business.
I think I said, I don't know if many of you have seen it, but I listened to a really good TED talk yesterday, and it was about a lady that had been really busy in the corporate world, and she talks about these mini retirements, and that is the one good thing about property. I don't have to go to a boss and say, I'm going on holiday for a couple of weeks. I don't have to ask for holiday. I can just go, and luckily the way that my business is set up, I can do it all remotely, and I'm free, and that is so nice. And like I said, that was one of my biggest fears about going back to corporate world, is having to ask. I think a year's worth of maternity leave, I felt so free. I had a lovely year, and I remember the thought of going back to a job, I was so sad about it. It was really, making me upset. Whereas now, I don't wake up in that morning, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to deal with this person today. It's all on my terms now, which is really nice.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, the thing is, we're not trained to be entrepreneurs. It's about whether you've got that entrepreneurial spirit. And I know I stayed in corporate land way too long personally, because I was educated to climb the corporate career ladder. And I wish I'd been entrepreneurial. Well, I was, probably, it was there, but it was quashed, because you're challenged to upgrade your house to climb that ladder. And by, igniting your entrepreneurial spirit much earlier, fabulous, hey?
Yeah.
So Sam, have you got some questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Before I forget, your TED Talk yesterday, do you remember who that was so people can find it?
No, but I will share the link. I can't remember her name. I've put it on my LinkedIn. I've shared it on there, but I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
So if people connect with you in LinkedIn, they'll spot it there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you found your power team through your gym. How would you recommend other people find their power team?
Again, speak with letting agents. So they have usually got a trusted database of people that they will go out and do jobs that have been well tested. So speak with your local letting agents and just explain that you're an investor. They'll like to help you because they're short-sightedness, like, oh, I can help this investor as well. I might be able to let their property. So hopefully they would give you little nuggets of information. So they might be able to put you in touch with a plumber, put you in touch with an electrician, and these are usually tried and tested people.
Okay, brilliant. How are you managing to balance being a mum with being an entrepreneur and business owner?
I'm lucky in the respect that my little girl goes to nursery 2 days a week. Obviously, the last few weeks with the coronavirus lockdown, it has been a lot more difficult. So it's been a case of working everything around nap time and bedtime. But she's been back in nursery. This is her second week back at nursery. So I've got my 2 days a week back again. And I feel free. So usually it's a case of evening work, which works fine for me. My other half works a lot of evenings as well. He does shift work, so that's kind of my time. I get my days with her, and then I don't mind working the evenings if it allows me to have the free time in the day to be enjoying the time with her.
Karen mentioned about the sort of way we are programmed, if you like, or educated to go to school, go to college, go to uni, get a job, retire, die. Is there anything different that you're going to be doing with your daughter now that you've found a different way of working? Is there anything you're going to be doing with her?
Yeah, very much so. I'm definitely going to talk to her about money, because again, I didn't have a clue when I first started out. Obviously you had money. I used to spend a lot of money, never had anything in reserves, but again, I've learned now that if you cut back and still have a nice life, like I'm the kind of girl that I love holidays, but I do not spend a fortune on my holidays. I like to go and do nice things, but I'm quite happy to stay in sort of cheaper accommodation if it means that I've got those memories. So I'll be teaching her about sort of the concept of money. Both me and her dad haven't gone down sort of the uni route, and I am very much a firm believer as you learn as you go. I don't know whether I would get her into sort of the property business, our property business straight away, because I think sometimes from speaking with other people, they kind of resent their parents saying, right, this is what you're going to do. I'll let her find her own path, but hopefully let her know sort of the little different things that she can do along the way to hopefully make her money go further.
And how's it working with your partner? How do you make that work so that you're not sort of clashing on the roles and responsibilities
with regards to the property?
Yeah.
So he very much, he's the numbers man, and he is brilliant at the numbers, but everything else gets left to me. So like the management, the legalities, the sales chasing, that's all my remit. And we know that. But yeah, he does the numbers, he makes sure everything stacks. He's quite good at liaising with the trades, and then yeah, everything else is me, and we know that's how it works best.
Brilliant. So you've got clear roles and responsibilities then?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, and it works really well. Like we're both on the same hymn sheet. We both know what we want to get out of, putting all of our time. You speak to some people and they're like, you literally like live, breathe, sleep property. And I'm like, well, it might sound like that, but actually we have a really nice life. Like, he has 4 days off in the week. So generally, if Aurelia's off, we'll be off going doing nice things, little day trips. Like I say, we love our holidays. So, it's not a big sacrifice to make for the nice lifestyle that we lead.
Brilliant. You said you were going to be viewing a couple of properties, just in case anyone is listening that might have something that could be meeting your criteria. What sort of criteria are you looking for at the moment in things you're looking to purchase?
So we've got criteria. So I've got sort of my stuff, which is going down the purchase lease option. So if people have got properties that they're thinking of maybe selling in the the near future, but they're a little bit worried about what the market's doing, I will obviously rent them from them shorter term, so give them a guaranteed rent and then agree a purchase price at the end of the term. So they're for sort of like the HMO market. So I've got a portfolio of the shared rooms, and that works really well for me. And then in terms of the single let route, so we're going down the buy, refurbish, finance route. So we're looking at something that we can add value to. So whether that be something that's got a short lease, or sort of a 1-bedroom flat that's got the space that we can turn it into a 2-bedroom flat, or something that just needs a good refurb, really.
Mm-hmm. Is there a particular area that you're looking at?
So our property spread from sort of Waterlooville, where we live, down into Southsea. We've not really branched out either side yet. We love Southsea, really like it down there. We know the rental demand is really good. So yeah, we would look at sort of all those areas really. And maybe something, we might be tempted by something a bit further afield, but we know that this area works well for us.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks.
Is there any questions on the Facebook, Sam?
No, I'm not seeing anything at the moment. If you're watching at the moment and you want to post some things for Kiera to answer, let us know so we can get those answered. Obviously, if people ask questions later, then we can monitor them and perhaps we can get them answered at a later date. If people are, not chipping in at the moment, that's fine. I personally, my goals for 2020 have obviously, I had a plan in the beginning of the year, and it's been a bit skewed and thrown out the window now. How's that for you?
Mine was, again, to get my business systemized. I wanted to spend less time in my business, and where I took my property manager on towards the beginning of the year, that's working out really, really well. And now it's just getting the other things in place. So that was my big goal for 2020, to spend less time in the business. So at the moment, that's still relatively on track.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to feel so much better once that's all in place.
Yeah.
It's going to be working like clockwork.
And she's a little gem. She's proven to be very, very good at the moment.
Remind me, where did you find her?
I used to work with her.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I knew her background, and we had similar backgrounds in terms of mums needing something sort of like to do on the side. So yeah, so she had some property experience herself. And again, at the same, so a similar thing as to what I started off, I needed something on the side to kind of keep me going whilst I was still trying to grow my property business. She's got similar interests in the property world. She wants to start growing her property business as well. So yeah, she's helping me and I'm helping her.
Awesome.
Kiera, I know you do rent to rent, and there's a lot of negative press about it, especially now in light of Corona. Lots of operators have kind of, this has been the point that they've got to, that they've had to hand keys back or not pay the guaranteed rents anymore. You're still quite keen on the rent to rent model. You think there's still money to be made in rent to rent?
Yeah, I do. I think if you get the right tenant in there and you do your numbers right, so it's knowing that whatever you're going to pay this landlord for the property, and even if you have, we don't all run at 100% occupancy rates, is knowing that even if you've got a void, you are still going to break even. And I remember when obviously this all came about, and it was before the furlough stuff came in, I panicked. I really panicked, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I literally went through all my tenant base and I scored them on their risk. I remember thinking, okay, so with the worst case scenario, if these don't pay for a long period of time, I'd worked out that I could still afford to pay my landlords their full rent. I could still cover my bills and stuff like that. I couldn't necessarily pay myself, but I thought, well, in the short term, to keep those relationships with the landlords, and so be it. I opened up the lines of communication early with the tenants to make sure that they knew what help was available to them. I also communicated with my landlords and said, look, if it really, really does get really bad, this is what I would propose in terms of like a slight rent reduction, how I would repay you over the time. So it wasn't a case of taking money off the rent and not repaying it. I agreed the terms to repay it. And luckily, I know things can still happen, but for the last few months, they've had their rent in full, and my tenants have been brilliant. I've had a couple of late payments, but no non-payments, and yeah, we've worked through it, and it's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
So would you say it's a case of communication that's managed to keep you going through this?
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, being on good terms with your tenants, definitely. And again, I've got a really good relationship with the landlords that I work with, and they know, touch wood, so far they've never had any late payments, they've never had any issues, and yeah, I think because I was honest with them in the short term, they knew obviously everybody was in the same boat. They were really happy with the proposal that I put to them, but luckily I didn't have to use it.
And are you still looking for rent-to-rent opportunities, or is that not part of your forward strategy?
I would prefer to go down the lease option route, I think. I wouldn't say no to one if the figures stacked well, but yeah, I would definitely prefer the lease option route if I was going to go down the HMO route.
Yeah, makes sense. If there's not any questions on Facebook, I was going to ask Kiera, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you after seeing this interview?
So I'm on obviously Facebook, LinkedIn, and then my email address is Kiera, so that's KIERA @wise-lets.com.
Fab, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for today. Unless any of you girls have any other questions, we'll let everyone get on with their morning.
No, I think it's been great. It's a really good share, and thank you for joining us, Kiera.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Right. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you again soon. Thanks. Bye.